So good morning, everyone. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. I have to be honest, what I'm going to talk about in the next 20 minutes is not as sexy as autonomous vehicles, but hopefully I can keep you interested in who Ayvens are and how we see our role in transforming the mobility industry as well. So I'd like to take 20 minutes of your time, firstly to tell you who Ayvens are, because my marketing team will kill me if I don't do that properly. Secondly, I want to tell you how we see our role in technology, sustainability, and models. And again, we've just made sure you're awake by messing up the order of models, sustainability, and tech that you've got on the banner for the event. And then I want to tell you how we hope to maintain a leading position in the industry by working with a number of players in the industry to drive that transformation. Because we recognize very clearly that we cannot do it on our own. And this industry transformation is only going to take place if a number of partners, tech players, sustainability providers, and finance providers and OEMs all come together to drive that transformation. So firstly, let me tell you a little bit about who Ayvens are. You probably won't have heard of us in the UK because we haven't rebranded in the UK, but Ayvens is the new company being born out of the merger between ALD Automotive and LeasePlan. And ALD Automotive and LeasePlan, that acquisition was completed last May. And it brought together the number 1 and 2 in the global automotive leasing businesses in the world. And it meant that we now have a combined fleet in more than 42 countries of 3.4 million vehicles under management. And we also have the largest multi-make electrified vehicle fleet in the world with more than 550,000 vehicles across those 42 countries. And today, if you look at our business, we're registering of every car we registered every month, more than 30% of those cars are electrified. And just to give you one more stat, in Europe alone, we buy around 6 to 7% of the new car production in Europe. So we have a pretty big role to play in driving the transformation of the mobility industry, and a pretty big role to play in driving the sustainability transformation, which is essential for the good of the planet, for the good of all our children, and the good of everything we're trying to do as well. Now, I want to talk about what we are doing in digital, and what we are doing in sustainability, and what we are doing in terms of new products and services, and how we work, how we operate as a business, and how we hope to continue to operate in the future by engaging with a number of you in the room. And we already work with a number of partners in the room today, and we hope to have the opportunity to work with a number of you in the near future as well. So firstly, what does it mean for us from a digital perspective? Well, from a digital perspective, what it means is we want to be the leading global mobility platform. That means we want to be able to provide mobility services to our clients, and our clients are large international key accounts, large corporate accounts, and private individuals who need mobility. And they need mobility, and they need to get from A to B in the most effective manner. Now, our business historically is a car business. So fundamentally, our business today is a bit of a car plus business. We provide a leasing product with all the services included around the car. And then we're beginning to see an increasing demand from our clients for additional services around the edge of that car and additional flexibility in the contract. If you remember, I said we have 3.4 million vehicles under lease. I could quite easily say we have 3.4 million vehicles under subscription. And that would probably help our share price, and it will probably make us look a lot sexier than we are. But unfortunately, we're an industrial business with 40, 50 years industry, and I can't suddenly change our identity like that, although we're trying with the new brand. But in theory, when you talk about subscription and you talk about the digital elements of subscription, which is a massive buzzword today, and there's a number of people talking about it in the room, subscription is leasing with a bit of flexibility thrown in. It's providing mobility to someone in a car for a single price point every month where everything is included, and the flexible bit is just letting them hand the car back when they want to, whereas leasing traditionally comes with a fixed term. And I'll tell you more about the products and services that we're already developing, which show you that that flexibility is becoming inherent in how we're operating. But firstly, back to digital. So digital, what does it mean? It means, for us, having a modular technology stack which means we're able to integrate from a platform perspective with a number of different suppliers. We don't think we can do everything better than everyone else. And hence our digital stack has to enable the integration with other people in the digital mobility ecosystems who can do their bit better than us. And hence 10 years ago we looked at our digital architecture and we ripped it apart and we built it together bit by bit. And we built it together so that, let's say we try to do one bit of our architecture, our business process ourselves. If a supplier comes along, like some of the people in the room, we can quickly bring them into our digital ecosystem and benefit from their expertise and their service as well. But we do also try to do some things ourselves. And what we also recognized early on is that on top of that modular architecture, you can't be a generic standard business. So even though the engine needs to be efficient, secure, reliable, how it appears to the outside world needs to be unique and different. And hence what we did is we made a conscious decision in our digital architecture to separate front office from back office, and that allows us to tailor the front office journey. And what it means today is we are a digital business. So what it means today is we can transact in more than 13 countries using more than 60 full digital customer journeys to allow clients, individuals and corporates to choose vehicles, place orders, track delivery, do credit checks, sign documents, modify contracts, and return the car as well. And that digital journey is also used by a number of our partners across Europe, such as Tesla, Smart, Polestar, Ford, to deliver their leasing offer to their clients as well. So if you go onto some of those OEM websites and you choose a leasing product, a full service leasing product, or a contract hire with maintenance product, as it's known in the UK, you'll actually be running on an Ayvens platform. And you'll be running on an Ayvens digital engine behind the scenes, but the front end is tailored to provide a unique digital customer journey to all of our partners, which ultimately is how we believe you win in today's world. You have to have the best journey, the most unique journey, the seamless journey for customers of our partners to transact with them and allow them to be different and stand out from the crowd. Now, as you'd expect from a large car-based company, we also looked at connected car quite heavily. And we've had a partnership with a company called Vinly, who are based in Dallas in the US for several years now. And what we do with Vinly is we try to create a device agnostic system that allows us to collect data from a car, all obviously compliant, because I always get questions about, is it compliant? Obviously it is. We're a bank. We cannot operate in any other way. We have to comply with all those regulations. And we capture that data, and then the challenge is to do some cool stuff with it. And I think if we're being honest when we talk about connected car data today, we've become really good at catching it. We've become really good at storing it. We've become really good at reporting on it, which is telling the client what they knew already. But we haven't yet done enough to unlock the value in that connected car. And I don't think many people in the industry have, to be honest. What we do have, though, is a massive base of data. So we already have more than 4 billion kilometers. The slide is at a point in time. It changes all the time. We have more than 400 million trips where we have the detail of where the person went from, what speed they drove, what driving behavior, sharp turns, sharp braking, potential crash events. And we now start to use all of that data to create value and use cases for our clients. But we're really at the early stage of that, but I'll give you a view of some of the use cases we've got. And finally, as well as subscription, everyone talks about AI because that's sexy as well. And we all want to say we're an AI company and we're doing cool stuff with AI. Again, if I'm being honest, we're scratching the surface with what we do, but we're there. And we're thinking about it, and I will share with you some of the use cases where we're experimenting with AI as well. So digging a bit deeper into what digital means for us from a pragmatic perspective, this is a slide summarizing what we do in Rome, in Italy. We run our insurance fleet in Italy fully connected. We have a very strong business case because if you have a connected fleet in Italy, you can manage the crash event much more efficiently than you can. And for some reason, there's a higher case of fraud in Italy around crash events than in other European countries. So it's a very specific use case in Italy. But what we're able to do with our connected car platform is take all of those data points, apply data science on top to work out the likelihood of whether a crash event has actually occurred, and then immediately notify our team to contact the driver so that we can be in charge of managing that crash event and managing all of the relevant steps in that crash event moving forward, such as crash repairs as well. What we're also able to do with that data is produce maps like you see above, where we can sit down with the city of Rome and say, do you know you have some very specific hotspots in your city, and this is what's causing the accidents in that city. It's a sharp turn, it's a sharp break, it's traffic crossing over, and we can use that data to make the city safer, but also to advise our drivers on where they should be driving in the city and which areas they should watch out for while they're driving around as well. Second use case on connected car is in the UK. We have a number of vehicles connected in the UK with our product called ProFleet in the UK, which is primarily a health and safety product, allowing fleet managers to ensure that drivers are driving in a responsible way. But again, what connected car allows us to do is to be very granular on what's happening with those cars and how they're being used. So if you remember before, I said around maybe 25% of our fleet is electrified, actually electrified today, and that could be plug-in hybrids or BEVs. Of the connected cars in the UK, we can see actually, if you look at the trips being carried out in the car, it's closer to 50% of the trips that are being carried out in an electrified way. And we also know whether a plug-in hybrid is being driven on electric or whether it's being driven on the diesel or petrol engine in the car. And that allows us to provide back to our corporate clients details of what CO2 impact they're having with their policies and where they need to educate their drivers about charging the cars in the appropriate manner. And finally, on digital, I can't talk about digital without talking about AI. We have a number of use cases on AI today, and we'll extend those across our whole value chain. But to give you some examples, if you work in the automotive industry in the UK, you know that residual values are kind of a sensitive topic right now, particularly on battery electric vehicles. And what we're allowed to do with AI is we're allowed to apply models across our existing residual value risk, and we're allowed to assess and project the market very quickly using different scenarios and different external data points to help us understand that risk and help us manage that risk. Now, once we know what risk we're carrying through our remarketing capability, and we sell more than 700,000 cars a year in Europe, we are able to use the knowledge we gain from that to understand where we will be able to sell that car to achieve the best return. And as my colleague Stefan talked about earlier, we will be the largest seller of used BEVs in Europe in the coming years, and we will look to use that position to develop second life leasing and used car leasing products, which makes BEV product more accessible to private individuals who today cannot afford a new BEV, and probably won't be able to afford a new BEV for the foreseeable future. So we try to use all of this knowledge and intelligence and capability across all the pillars of our strategy, including our sustainability commitments, which I will talk about next. Some people will say you've got 3.4 million vehicles, the majority of those vehicles are diesel and petrol. How the hell can you stand up on stage and talk about being a sustainable company? Well, we can, because with that size and with that scale comes a responsibility to support all of our clients in the transition towards sustainability and make sure they have the right information to make that transition in the most effective manner. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, there was a big rush to plug-in hybrids. That was the thing, right? People moved to plug-in hybrids. That meant they became sustainable. But when we analyzed the driving data of those vehicles, 90% of the time those vehicles were being driven on petrol and diesel power engines. They weren't being driven on the electric capability. And actually, when you look at those cars, they're 2.5 times heavier than a normal electric vehicle or a normal ICE vehicle, and therefore the CO2 they're emitting is actually significantly more. But somehow, by getting a PHEV, we suddenly became green. What we try to do with our clients is provide that insight to them so they know whether the drivers are driving on electric power, or if they're not, are they charging efficiently, or Can we advise them where to charge and when to charge in order to maximize their driving time and maximize the use of that electric propulsion capability in the car? And obviously there's more when you talk about sustainability. A lot of large fleets, 10, 15, 20,000 car fleets, belong to large corporates who have significant ESG commitments with their shareholders, and they want to transition to electrification. But right now it's quite complicated with all of the tax incentives, the moves changing, what it's going to cost me, what's happening in terms of the technology evolution of batteries, what's happening in terms of charging infrastructure, how do I manage the charging infrastructure at home? And it's very easy at that point to say, too complicated, I'll wait for next time. What we have built is an industrial capability to work globally, to advise those global clients and locally on how best to transition their fleet from petrol, diesel to electrification, and how to do it in the most impactful manner for the environment, but the least impactful manner for their existing business. So helping maintain their business continuity, but getting there a lot quicker as well. Now finally, I want to talk about models and products. I talked a little about all these different products that we're trying to bring to market. Ayvens Flex, we have more than 100,000 vehicles across Europe which are on flexible leasing products, subscription, but I'm not allowed to say that, but it's flexible leasing. So it'd be cool if I could call it subscription, because then more of our guys could wear our cool trainers when they come up on stage, but so far we stay in a suit and tie normally. We also have used car lease capability, which is building the foundations of that used EV transition I talked about as well. And again, when I talk about Car Plus, we've also developed our Move app, which allows us to bring mobility as a service to those corporate clients also. Now, how do we want to maintain that leading position that we occupy today, and how do we want to play in the industry? Well, we have over 400 million euros of investment lined up for digital in the coming years to make sure we maintain that modular digital capability, which is so important. We also have commitments with the market about how we will help our clients crystallize their sustainability ambitions. And whilst there's a lot of disruption in the market linked to government regulations, BEV pricing, we try as hard as we can to stick to those commitments and support our clients. And finally, we want to be the best innovation partner in the industry. And what does that mean? Well, this is how we do innovation. We have a dedicated innovation capability within Ayvens that focuses on the 3 to 5 year timeline. And this slide gives you some example of the scale and the activities and the type of things we do. And I'm just going to give you one example of one product. This was a product called Ayvens Move. It was designed to be a mobility as a service app for our clients. And the process we went through was, number one, we identified there was an interest. Number two, we faked it with some employees using WhatsApp and people responding to WhatsApp to see if we could change their mobility behavior. Thirdly, we then started to explore some of the technologies we could use in order to automate that response, chatbots, AI, data analysis. Finally, we realized we couldn't build it ourselves. We weren't good enough, and therefore we made an investment in a startup called Skipper to help us scale. And now that product's available in 3 European countries and is being used by some major corporate clients. So this is who we are. This is what we're about. If you would like to join us in shaping the transformation of the mobility industry, we would love to see you on the stand with all the team there. And I want to thank you very much for your time.
We live in a world of constant motion, in a time that calls for the world of mobility to change with it. For a better, more sustainable future. However, the world doesn't change in a leap, but in millions of little steps. And it takes a new leader with global scale and experience to make it happen. That's why ALD Automotive and LeasePlan are coming together. Introducing Ayvens, a new leader for better mobility. Our promise is to help everyone take the step towards better mobility, to make life and business flow better, to inspire and support each other, customers, employees, everyone. At Ayvens, we make every move a step towards better, with seamless and more sustainable mobility for more people. So when we move together, the world moves towards better. Ayvens, better with every move.